Lesson 1: Ethical Investing in a Turbulent Market.
Do you follow any ethical investing strategies?
Yes, I apply an ethical investing framework.
What motivates your ethical approach?
I seek alignment between values and capital.
Do you use exclusionary screens?
I exclude industries that violate core principles.
Which industries do you typically exclude?
Tobacco, weapons, and fossil fuels are common exclusions.
Do exclusions limit your investment universe too much?
They can, which is why balance is necessary.
Do you prefer positive screening instead?
I often combine exclusions with positive screening.
What does positive screening involve?
It selects companies with strong environmental practices.
Do you consider social criteria as well?
Social factors like labor standards matter greatly.
Do you include governance in your analysis?
Corporate governance is central to my decisions.
How do you measure governance quality?
I review board independence and executive pay transparency.
Do you invest in ESG-labeled funds?
I invest in selective ESG funds after careful vetting.
How do you vet ESG funds for credibility?
I examine methodologies, holdings, and third-party audits.
Are there concerns about greenwashing?
Yes, greenwashing is a significant and growing concern.
How do you detect greenwashing in funds?
I compare stated objectives to actual portfolio exposures.
Do you use impact investing for direct change?
I allocate part of my portfolio to impact investments.
What defines an impact investment for you?
Clear social outcomes and measurable metrics define impact.
Do you expect market returns from impact investments?
I expect competitive returns in many cases and accept trade-offs sometimes.
How do you measure social or environmental outcomes?
I use key performance indicators and independent assessments.
Do you engage in shareholder activism?
I engage when stewardship can influence corporate behavior.
What forms does engagement take?
Proxy voting, dialogues with management, and filing resolutions.
Do you believe activism changes company policies?
It can, especially when backed by persistent investor coalitions.
Do you favor divestment as a strategy?
Divestment may signal disapproval but has mixed practical effects.
When is divestment appropriate?
It is appropriate when engagement fails and moral stance is decisive.
Do you balance ethical goals with fiduciary duty?
Ethical investing should respect fiduciary responsibilities.
How do you handle conflicts between ethics and returns?
I weigh long-term risks and the systemic costs of unethical exposure.
Do you incorporate climate risk into financial models?
I include scenario analyses and transition risk assessments.
Do you use carbon footprint metrics for portfolios?
I track carbon intensity and exposure to high emission sectors.
How reliable are carbon metrics across companies?
Metrics vary, so I prefer standardized and audited disclosures.
Do you favor companies with net zero commitments?
I favor credible commitments with clear targets and interim milestones.
How do you assess credibility of net zero pledges?
I examine third-party verification, short-term plans, and capital expenditure alignment.
Do you invest in green technologies directly?
I invest in renewable energy and sustainable infrastructure selectively.
Are renewable investments always low risk?
They are not. Project execution and regulation create risks.
Do you pay attention to supply chain ethics?
Supply chain transparency is essential for true sustainability.
How do you evaluate supply chain practices?
I review audits, supplier codes of conduct, and remediation records.
Do you prioritize human rights in investment choices?
Human rights considerations are non-negotiable in my framework.
Do you avoid companies with poor labor records?
I avoid or engage with companies to address labor abuses.
Do you consider local community impacts?
Community impact is a key dimension of responsible investing.
How do you weigh short-term profit versus long-term societal benefit?
I prioritize long-term resilience and systemic well-being.
Do you diversify across sectors while staying ethical?
Diversification remains important to manage idiosyncratic risk.
Do you use thematic strategies such as sustainable agriculture?
Thematic strategies help target specific environmental or social goals.
Do you use financial metrics differently for ethical investments?
I integrate traditional valuation with sustainability-adjusted risk factors.
How do you handle controversial companies with potential for reform?
I often engage first and consider divestment if progress stalls.
Do you collaborate with other investors on ethical initiatives?
Coalitions increase influence and share due diligence burdens.
Do you consider public policy and regulation in decisions?
Regulatory trends shape long-term sector viability and require monitoring.
Do you use exclusions for sovereign debt based on human rights?
I evaluate sovereign risk and will avoid egregious human rights violators.
Do you value transparency and reporting from companies?
Transparent reporting is a baseline criterion for investment.
How do you keep up with evolving ESG standards?
I follow standard setters, academic research, and market practices.
Do you use ratings agencies for ESG scoring?
I use them as one input, not the sole determinant.
Do you question the objectivity of ESG raters?
Rater methodologies differ, so scrutiny is required.
How do you ensure your portfolio remains aligned over time?
I conduct periodic reviews and rebalance according to updated criteria.
Do you offer ethical investment advice to others?
I share principles and encourage due diligence rather than prescriptive advice.
Do you consider the social cost of capital in your models?
I incorporate externalities where quantification is possible.
Are there controversial aspects of ethical investing?
Yes, debates range from effectiveness to elitism and unintended consequences.
How do you respond to critics who call ethical investing performative?
I point to measurable outcomes and advocate continuous improvement.
Do you think ethical investing can drive systemic change?
It can, especially when coupled with policy and consumer shifts.
Do you maintain flexibility to update ethical criteria?
My criteria evolve with evidence, norms, and stakeholder input.
Do you invest in emerging markets with different ethical norms?
I invest cautiously and emphasize local standards and engagement.
How do you measure success for ethical investments?
Success combines financial returns and verified social or environmental impact.
Do you report impact outcomes to peers or clients?
I provide transparent impact reports and documented metrics.
Do you use technology to track and verify impact?
Blockchain and satellite data can enhance verification in some contexts.
Do you consider philanthropic capital alongside investing?
Philanthropy complements investing by funding non-commercial solutions.
Do you believe in voting with capital as a moral act?
Yes, capital allocation signals preferences and can incentivize change.
Will you continue to refine your ethical investing strategy?
I will, because ethics and markets both evolve.
I will review my own portfolio and begin applying these ethical criteria.
Lesson 2: Screens and Presence, Balancing Digital Life and Family Time.
How do you balance screen time with family time?
I set clear boundaries around device use.
What boundaries do you implement at home?
We have device-free zones and times each day.
Which rooms are device free in your home?
The dining room and bedrooms are screen-free spaces.
Do you set time limits for social media and streaming?
I set daily limits and enforce them with apps when needed.
How do you introduce those limits to children?
I explain reasons calmly and model the same behavior.
Do you negotiate exceptions for work or emergencies?
We allow exceptions with prior notice and mutual respect.
How do you handle work that requires evening screen time?
I schedule focused work blocks and protect family hours.
Do you use technology to enforce family routines?
I use shared calendars and gentle timers for transitions.
How do you reclaim attention during family meals?
We put phones in a common basket before dining.
Do you use phone-free rituals for bonding?
We read aloud, share highlights, and ask reflective questions.
How do you manage children who resist screen time rules?
I offer alternatives and set consistent consequences.
What alternatives do you propose to screens?
Outdoor play, board games, and creative projects.
Do you plan tech-free family days sometimes?
We schedule at least one technology-free weekend monthly.
How do you manage entertainment compromises with teenagers?
I involve them in rule-making and set mutual expectations.
Does negotiation improve adherence to rules?
It fosters ownership and reduces covert usage.
How do you ensure quality rather than quantity of screen time?
I encourage educational and creative content over passive scrolling.
Do you co-view digital content with children?
Co-viewing allows discussion and critical thinking about media.
How do you address the lure of devices at bedtime?
We enforce a digital curfew and use night mode features.
Do you use blue light filters to protect sleep?
Yes, and we dim screens in the hours before sleep.
How do you model healthy screen habits yourself?
I limit my own usage and prioritize presence during family moments.
Do you schedule one-on-one device-free time with each child?
I schedule weekly individual activities without devices.
How do you handle urgent notifications while present with family?
I mute non-essential alerts and check urgent messages discreetly.
Do you communicate availability to colleagues to protect family time?
I set expectations and use auto-replies when necessary.
How do you deal with guilt about unavoidable screen use?
I reframe it as purposeful work and compensate with focused family presence.
Do you use technology to enhance family connection?
We use video calls with distant relatives and shared photo albums.
How do you evaluate apps for family suitability?
I review content, privacy settings, and age appropriateness carefully.
Do you teach children digital literacy and critical consumption?
I teach them to question sources and think before sharing.
How do you protect children from online harms?
I enable parental controls and maintain open dialogue about risks.
Do you discuss screen time limits with your partner regularly?
We meet monthly to reassess rules and adapt as children grow.
How do you adjust limits when school demands increase?
We allow flexibility for study while maintaining core family rituals.
Do you measure the impact of screen policies on family well-being?
I observe mood, sleep, and relationship quality as key indicators.
How do you respond if screens cause conflict at home?
I mediate calmly and restore shared agreements promptly.
Do you involve children in creating screen time consequences?
Involvement teaches responsibility and fairness.
How do you prevent screens from replacing outdoor time?
I schedule daily outdoor activities and family walks.
Do you use rewards to encourage device-free behavior?
Small rewards and praise reinforce positive habits.
How do you protect your partner from digital distraction during conversations?
We agree on signals to pause devices and refocus attention.
Do you create tech rituals for special occasions?
We preserve key celebrations as wholly screen-free events.
How do you balance personal leisure screen time with family obligations?
I allocate personal screen time when family needs are met.
Do you model apology and repair when you slip up?
I apologize and demonstrate renewed commitment to family presence.
How do you keep teenagers engaged without constant screens?
I support their hobbies and facilitate social activities offline.
Do you set goals for reducing passive screen habits?
We set incremental goals and celebrate progress together.
How do you protect young children from algorithmic content loops?
I prefer curated content and limited autoplay settings.
Do you cultivate non-digital family traditions?
Traditions like Sunday meals and storytelling do much to bond us.
How do you negotiate screen time with visiting guests?
We set expectations kindly and propose inclusive activities.
Do you assess the credibility of digital tools claiming to improve family life?
I research reviews and privacy practices before adopting new apps.
How do you resist social pressure to document every family moment online?
I value private memories and choose what to share deliberately.
Do you discuss digital footprints and consent with older children?
We emphasize privacy, respect, and long-term consequences.
How do you maintain patience when technology provokes conflict?
I stay calm, listen, and address the behavior rather than react to the device.
Do you encourage family members to set personal digital goals?
Personal goals create healthy motivation and self-regulation.
How do you integrate mindful pauses into daily routines?
We practice brief mindful check-ins before meals and bedtime.
Do you evaluate screen policies during major life changes?
We revisit rules during moves, new jobs, and school transitions.
How do you foster empathy in digital disagreements among siblings?
I facilitate conversations that focus on feelings and solutions.
Do you use screens for family learning and creative collaboration?
We co-create playlists, family films, and collaborative projects online.
How do you measure success in balancing screens and family time?
Success shows in stronger relationships and improved well-being.
What controversial trade-offs have you faced in this balance?
Tension arises when career demands require screen hours that reduce family time.
How do you prioritize when obligations conflict with family rituals?
I communicate openly and negotiate compromises that respect both needs.
What final rule would you recommend to families now?
Protect core family moments deliberately and use screens with clear purpose.
I will start a family agreement tonight and model device restraint myself.
Lesson 3: The Indispensable Kitchen Gadget Debate.
What cooking gadget have you found indispensable?
I consider the high-quality blender indispensable.
Why does the blender earn that status?
It creates smooth purees, sauces, and soups quickly.
Do you use it for more than drinks?
I use it for nut butters, dough starters, and dressings.
Does it save time in meal preparation?
It reduces chopping and manual emulsification time.
Do you think it replaces other tools in the kitchen?
It complements rather than completely replaces other tools.
Are there controversial aspects to owning a powerful blender?
Yes, noise, energy use, and the cost can be debated.
Do you worry about nutritional loss from blending?
Fiber remains, but some volatile nutrients may change with heat.
How do you mitigate nutrient degradation?
I blend briefly and use cold ingredients when possible.
Do you use the blender for meal prep and batch cooking?
I prepare large batches of soups and sauces for the week.
Does that practice support healthy eating habits?
It encourages consistent home cooking and portion control.
Do you find cleaning to be burdensome?
Proper selection of models eases cleaning with dishwasher-safe parts.
Do you prefer personal blender units for single servings?
Personal units are convenient for quick smoothies on the go.
Do you recommend a particular power range for versatility?
I recommend a mid to high wattage motor for tougher tasks.
Are there safety concerns with high-speed blades?
I follow safety instructions and avoid immersing the motor base.
Do you value tamper tools included with some blenders?
Tampers improve processing of thick mixtures without stopping the motor.
Do you use the blender for desserts or ice cream?
I make frozen desserts and sorbets with smooth textures.
How does the blender compare to food processors?
Food processors excel at chopping and shredding, while blenders excel at liquids.
Do you own both a blender and a food processor?
I own both to cover a wider range of techniques.
Are there controversial brand debates among home cooks?
Brand loyalty can be strong and polarizing in consumer communities.
Do you consider price a reliable indicator of quality?
Price often reflects build and warranty, but research is essential.
Do you prefer variable speed controls?
Variable speed offers greater control over texture and consistency.
Have you used the blender for baby food?
I prepare smooth, nutrient-dense purees for infants.
Do you worry about cross-contamination when making different foods?
I clean thoroughly between uses and use separate containers when needed.
Do you store the blender on the counter or in a cabinet?
I store it on the counter for frequent use and convenience.
Does counter storage create clutter concerns?
I balance accessibility with kitchen aesthetics and storage needs.
Do you find replacement parts readily available?
Availability differs by brand, so I choose brands with good support.
Do you value warranty and customer service highly?
I value long warranties and responsive service for durable appliances.
Have you experimented with alternative gadgets that mimic blender functions?
Immersion blenders replicate many tasks with less storage footprint.
Do immersion blenders match the power of countertop models?
They are convenient but typically less powerful for dense mixtures.
Do you use cold press juicers instead?
I use juicers for clear juice, but they discard fiber unlike blenders.
Do you believe the blender influences culinary creativity?
It expands technique options and encourages experimental recipes.
Do chefs in professional kitchens rely on blenders?
Many professional chefs use high-powered blenders for consistent results.
Are there environmental concerns with powerful appliances?
Energy efficiency matters, and I choose models with responsible ratings.
Do you prepare plant-based milks at home with the blender?
I make almond, oat, and cashew milks with homemade control over ingredients.
Does homemade production reduce additives and sugars?
It allows complete control and avoids unnecessary preservatives.
Do you find community recipes and trends influence gadget use?
Viral recipes often boost interest in specific appliances.
Have any viral blender trends been controversial?
Some trends promote excessive consumption or unsafe practices.
How do you discern safe versus risky viral recipes?
I follow food safety guidelines and avoid instructions that seem reckless.
Do you consider blender versatility a selling point for learners?
Versatility teaches technique and encourages frequent practice in kitchens.
Would you recommend a blender to beginners learning to cook?
Yes, it is a valuable tool for simplifying foundational techniques.
How do you suggest learners choose a first model?
Evaluate power, capacity, cleaning, and warranty relative to budget.
Do you encourage experimenting with savory and sweet recipes?
Experimentation broadens skills and keeps cooking engaging.
What maintenance tips do you offer for longevity?
Clean blades immediately, avoid overheating, and follow manufacturer guidelines.
Do you preserve receipts and documentation for warranty claims?
I keep documentation and register appliances when required.
Are there accessories that increase blender utility?
Additional jars, lids, and tamper tools improve flexibility.
How do you balance gadget accumulation with a minimalist kitchen?
I prioritize multifunctional tools and quality over quantity.
Do you think a blender can transform home dining habits?
It can make home cooking more attainable and enjoyable.
Do you ever recommend alternative approaches to those opposed to blenders?
I suggest manual techniques and other appliances based on individual values.
What final argument would you give for the blender as indispensable?
Its capacity to save time, enhance nutrition, and inspire creativity makes it essential for many.
I will consider a high quality blender for both practical cooking and culinary exploration.